Hi everyone, a very warm welcome to all of you. We are formally starting this session. A very warm welcome from Phenom Placement. First of all, I want to thank our four panelists who have taken out time on Sunday for expressing their views. We have with us Mr. Ankit Shah, who's a CA
Hi.
2007
Hello,
batch.
everyone.
We have Miss Aditi, 2017 batch, a campus select in Infosys. We have Shubham Agrawal, CA 2017 batch, a Flipkart management industrial trainee and currently working in an investment bank. And we have Manish Temani, who is an All India rank 26 in 2007 batch and currently working in London as a director in a leading investment bank. First of all, before we start, a small disclaimer from our side, which is valid all through this entire session, is that the views expressed here or will be those who are views which will be expressed and shared here are the personal views of all the panelists, and they're of course not the authorized representative of any company. So please use your own discretion before you take any decision. Now I welcome all the guests, those who are July 21 batch CAs. First of all, many congratulations for qualifying CA. This is one of the toughest course of India. You guys have qualified it. So you all guys deserve a thumbs up. This session, which is organized by Phenom Placement, will be for 1.5 hours roughly, and we'll try and cover three broad topics. One, regarding our campus strategies, for which the last date of registration is tomorrow. The second thing is about the Middle East international careers, and third most important thing is the life beyond campus placements. So these three things will be the broad area of coverage. Our panelists will be happy to assist questions relevant other than 3 points I just mentioned. There are certain ground rules. First of all, this meeting is recorded. I need everyone to be respectful of views of others. Let everyone speak, and how it's gonna be a question and answer session form. So what will happen is you'll raise your hands and I'll ask one by one to ask your question, and our panelists will be happy to answer basis on their experiences and views. So as of now, we have more than 100 attendees with us. This is an amazing number. Thank you very much for taking out time on Sunday and joining us. Without taking much of your time, I'm opening this forum. I'll just go through quickly to our panelists who can introduce us for next 30 seconds to a minute with themselves, and we'll tell them that what area and what opinions would they be sharing. So I'll start with Ankit. Ankit, if you can hear me.
Yes. Thanks, Ashish. Hello, everyone. This is Ankit Shah. To talk about my journey after my qualification, I started with one of the big fours in Middle East. And then I was there for 3 years. I mean, coming back, I joined another big four in a different industry. And then again, I switched to probably the third big four I'm in, which where again I changed my industry. So, and when I completed almost a decade in three of these big fours, I wanted to get into an industry. And today I am leading a global finance accounting team in one of the IT companies in Bangalore. So that's pretty much about me. Coming to the some of the areas where probably I can touch base from my real life experiences is around the life in Middle East, or any questions that you have around Middle East, because I've been there for 3 years. Any questions around Big Fours, because I have spent almost a decade over there. So these couple of areas I would be probably focusing a little more from my real life experiences. And if there is any other question, probably generic question where I can be of any help, definitely I would like to kind of, add from my experiences.
Thank you, Ankit. Aditi, you want to go next?
Hello everyone, I'm Aditi and I'm a 2017 qualified CA and selected in Infosys through campus. Now almost having a 4 years of experience, and I'm currently working in an FMCG company based out of Bangalore. And the questions which I'll be taking will be mostly around the campus selections and the selection of cities, and how to prepare for the campus interviews. Thank you.
Shubham, thank you, Aditi. Shubham, would you go next?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ash. Hi, all. My name is Shubham Agrawal. First of all, congratulations to you all for this great achievement. Like I am a qualified chartered accountant from May 2017 batch. I am currently working in an investment bank in Bangalore. I did my industrial training from Flipkart Bangalore within like process control group, and I will be taking questions on like campus placements and like how you have to select your cities and like what we have to prepare, let's say for group discussions and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubham. Manish.
Hi everyone, this is Manish. I'm a qualified chartered accountant in CS and I've also done CPA later on in my career. With regard to my career journey, like Ankit, I also started with a Big Four, I spent few years there and then eventually I moved on to an Australian investment bank. Again, spent quite a few years there working into different finance roles and moved on to a UK investment bank where I'm working currently. Currently, I'm based in London from last 5 years and leading a regional finance team for the bank. In terms of the areas or questions I'll be looking to help you guys with will be, anything related to investment banking, or if you have any questions with regard to generally on, interview preparations and all, I will be sharing my views, including anything on the CV. So, and equally will add on to any other thoughts I have on any other topics. So yeah, looking forward to interact. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Manish. Now there's some ground rules before we start. Since we have more than 105 joinees with us, so we can't go all in one go. Some of them are asking questions on chat. Please refrain that. We'll give everyone an opportunity. If you have a question, please raise your hand. I'll come to you. I'll say your name, and then you can ask your question. So anyone who has a question, instead of putting it on a chat forum, please raise your hand. You will have an option.
Hello, sir. I'm Sohil Jain.
Give me a second. I'll say your name and then you can go ahead. I can see the first name of CA Amit Kumar. CA Amit Kumar, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Amit, hi. Please ask your question.
Sir, I have a question for Mr. Shubham.
Okay.
Hello. Sir, actually my query is nowadays I'm looking for the job in finance sector, but in most of the companies they are asking for the experience for at least 2 to 3 years. And as a CA fresher, it's very difficult for me to get enter into the finance sector. So can you please guide me how can I enter into it? Because I am a CA aspirant also. For the main purpose for entering into the CFA is just for the finance. So can you please guide me how can I enter into the finance?
Sure. Guys, I can hear a lot of background noise. Shubham, if you before
So
taking this
finance
question,
is very.
Shubham, hi, please hold on. I'm sorry. Before taking this question, I can see a lot of background noise from the attendee side. Can you guys please keep yourself on mute? Guys, there has been a lot of background noise. Please keep yourself on mute. Keep your videos on and keep your audio on mute. Thank you very much. Hi, Shubham. Please go ahead.
Sure, thanks. Yeah. So like I would say that like finance as a term is very broad. So first of all, like you need to identify the specific role which you want to get into. And like to your question regarding like when they ask for experience for 2 to 3 years, by that like they generally mean your articleship experience. So first like you should see like what you have learned in your articleship, and then like based on that like you can select your domain within the finance.
And I'll probably top that up, what Shubham said. And, I mean, me and Ankit, both of us have been recruiting for years now. And CA as a qualification is, good enough for you to get into most or all of the finance fields. So, it is not that you need anything additional on top of it. Yes, to Shubham's point, you need to probably brush up what you have done in articleship because people will look to test it. But, I mean, having completed CA is your ticket to get into, most or all of the finance roles that you want. I mean, you don't need anything beyond that as a starting point.
True.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Shubham.
you. Hi, Divyansh Kanchal. Can you hear me? Divyansh, can you hear me? Okay, moving to next person. Sumant P. Sumant, can you hear me?
Now?
Yeah, Sumant, hi, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, I wanted to know as a fresher, is it easy for us to join Middle East? Or is it better to get 2 years experience in India and then move to Middle East?
Ankit, would you be taking this question?
Sure. So, Sumant, to be frank, there is no difference in terms of I would say, the skill set that they look in India and in Middle East. I mean, when they recruit freshers, I mean, in Big Fours. So that way, it won't make a difference today or after 2 years. I mean, where probably your probability will be higher. I mean, so like I joined from the day one. I mean, I didn't go for the campus. I mean, because I was selected before. uh, there is no difference, I would say.
Okay, sir. How easy it is for a CA fresher to join Middle East?
Uh, to be frank, Big Fours always have kind of, the demand for qualified, I mean, at the entry level as well as at the lateral levels, I mean, across the globe, I mean, in India and outside India, including Middle East, I mean. So through consultants like Phenom and a lot of others, I mean, it is relatively, I would say, a normal routine process. There is nothing additional that probably you need to go through since just because you are applying for Middle East. So it's a very routine process that probably you would have gone otherwise for any other entity also or locally in India that you go through and get the job there. I mean,
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
no problem.
Ankit, hi, we have received multiple queries on Middle East, so I'll just add on a question here. So the question is a two-part question. First, it says the candidates of India-based chartered accountants have knowledge of IND-AS or Indian gaps, wherein the entire Middle East is on IFRS. That's one. Then how easy is the transformation? One. And second, how easy is for is there any particular country which we should be choosing, any company which should be choosing, and what are the life and what is the life in Middle East? Is it like similar to someone living in Mumbai or Bangalore?
Okay, so answering the first one, which is around the difference between the Indian standard and the IFRS one. So the conceptually it is same. It can be a different number, I mean, or there can be some specific requirements which are little different. So that wouldn't take you long, I mean, to make a switch or to get a hang of the IFRS which is being applicable there, because conceptually it is same, I mean. And that's the reason kind of Big Fours from Middle East easily hire people from India, knowing that members don't have exposure to IFRS. I mean, that is the first part of the answer for the first question. The second part of the answer for the first question itself is Big Fours have a very stringent training mechanism. I mean, so they spend a lot on training their members. I mean, so even if you have, say, for kind of, say for if I talk about the accounting standards, I mean, where the framework, say for, is little different than what is applicable to your set of clients, I mean, they will spend considerable time to train you, I mean, and keep you up to the speed which is applicable there. I mean, so that shouldn't be a problem at all. Coming to the second part, the second question, which was around life in Middle East, I would say it's really wonderful. I had a great time there. Normally, people do that. What people do is that they go to outside countries and they feel that, okay, maybe later in their retirement years, I mean, they will come back to their country. I like Middle East so much that I feel that because of the personal reason I had to come back. I mean, but maybe later in my retirement years, I mean, I would like to go and stay there. I mean, it's good in all respect. I mean, um, be it your I would say the normal lifestyle, I mean, and I think the question was specific that, like, say, for how you will have your life in Bangalore or Mumbai. So it's exactly the same. There is no difference. I mean, yes, there are specific countries or cities in Middle East where probably life could be a little different because they have kind of a lot of restrictions and things like that. But like, say, for I went to Bahrain, I mean, so Bahrain is pretty chilled, pretty open, I mean, and similar stories I have heard for places like Dubai, Muscat, Abu Dhabi, where life is really chill, I mean. So if you opt for one of these countries, MN, it's at par with what you probably can imagine your life in, say, for Bangalore or Mumbai.
And Ankit, did you join as a fresher CA in Middle East, or you gained experience and then joined?
I joined just after completing my CA, and so as a fresher.
Wow, that's nice. Thank
Yeah.
you, Ankit. The next person we have Ronak Sarawgi.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Ronak, go ahead.
My question is, how can we join Middle East companies? Like, through what do we go? And also, I have another question. I'm really interested in finance, but I live in Hyderabad, but there are not many companies that are taking CA freshers for finance here. So what can I do about it? I do not want to change my city. That's it.
All right. So Ankit, can you take the first part, and Aditi, can you also take the second part?
Yes. So coming to the first part, Aditi, I think I did mention a while back that when it comes to your gateway to get there, I mean, you have to take help of consultancies like Phenom, I mean, where they have their footprints across the globe, including the Middle East. So that will be the right gateway for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and coming on to second part, where you mentioned that you want to specifically go to finance company, and then I guess you don't want to change your city. So again, here I guess the networking that you build up or around you, like forwarding your CV off campus and all those things, and obviously taking help of such consultants like Phenomenal, you can surely meet your requirements, like going into specific industry and without changing the city.
Okay. Yeah. I have a question here with Manish. Manish, since I'm sure you must be taking a lot of meetings on Zoom and through this virtual, networking sessions. A lot of people are asking us, because the GMCS or the other activities of ICI, which used to happen earlier physically, now has been shifted to virtual sessions. So how to build a network during virtual connect?
Yeah, so I mean, very fair question in the sense, it is the future way of working. I mean, even after we are out of COVID, I feel, the online meeting will go a long way. So there are few quick tips which I think everybody can follow, which will help you to kind of build the network or, be in touch with people. One, wherever you are, going into any of the virtual sessions, make your point very clear. It is probably not important to speak 5 times, 10 times during a session, even virtually. Even if you speak once or twice, it is okay. As far as you are clear, if you are asking something or if you are sharing your views on something, so have that clarity. Don't try and speak a lot of time. Just speak once, but make your point clear so that you immediately get the attention of the audience. If you are dealing with multiple people on a session, like for example this one, you should try and get contact of the people you want to be in touch with, and you should follow up with them even after the sessions. I mean, not to the extent that you are probably bothering them to some extent, but to maintain a simple hi, hello, and get some sort of informal advice from people is always helpful. So a lot of people, in CA initial life, including myself, were really hesitant to reach out to, some of the more senior people from our fraternity. We should probably simply get out of this notion. Like, if I know somebody who's 10 years senior to me, he's a CA, trust me, more often than not, people will be more than willing to hear your thoughts, share their views, and advise your general matter. As far as you reach out to them in a professional way, allow them some time, ask for their time whenever they are free, and they will be okay to devote, 5-10 minutes of their schedule to your time. So I think, just summarizing what I said, if you are interacting with people in a virtual means, try and make your views very clear. Not important to speak multiple times, but whenever you're speaking, you are clear. Try and follow up with people after the calls. Do it in a professional way. Don't hesitate, because people will love to hear, thoughts from the younger members of the fraternity. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Manish. Nandita, you're next. Nandita Agarwal. Nandita, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can I please go
Sure.
ahead with my question?
Yes, please.
Hello, hi. I just wanted to ask you because being a part of a middle-sized firm, we are basically saturated to audit and assurance. And if we want to venture into any different field, be it business strategy, advisory, or finance, so what all additional things do we require other than audit and assurance? Because that is our niche area. How can we brush up our skills, or what should we do to venture into all of these? Because during our interviews we might just apply to all these sectors, but we need certain skill sets. So what all skill sets, and how can we enhance our skills in regarding to this? Can you please guide us on that?
Sure. Aditi, would you take this question?
Yeah, sure. So, hi Nandita. Speaking of your question, actually the same issue was with me. I mean, like in my articleship form also, I had the same experience for my articleship. Like that was mostly around statutory audit and assurance. But when you go as a fresher CA in any campus interview, so it's the companies which are coming there to recruit, they are not very specific and they don't stick only to your articleship experience. That is like a fresher CA. It's like a blank slate basically. Every company will judge you on the basis of your knowledge of your concepts about the different subjects that we are having in our CA curriculum. So I don't think that there is any additional need because I was having experience in audit and assurance, and I got selected in COPFIN in Infosys while campus. So it's totally fine if you're having that experience. You just need to brush up the concepts around different all the subjects which are there in CA, and confidently give your answer in interview, and you can get selected in any profile. It's not very specific. That if you're having an audit and assurance, you don't need anything else. It's just for basic concepts wise. If you are clear, then because the companies are also knowing that the fresher CA sitting, so there will be a limited amount of knowledge that they will be having. So it's totally fine, I guess.
Thank you, Aditi. Can
And
I ask a
yeah,
follow-up
if I
question as well? Please,
Yeah, Nandita, please go on.
sorry to cut you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, like, other than our CA curriculum, it is actually very theoretical. What all we know is very theoretical, and in terms of placements, they ask us very analytical and very practical questions in general. So how can we, broaden our minds regarding that? Do I need to do certain internships before going into that field, or what all practical knowledge? How can I gain that practical knowledge?
Frankly speaking, internship and alls are not required if you have done a good articleship. Because yeah, I know like the curriculum is theoretical, but the articleship experience that we get, that is practical. And whatever questions they ask, they are mostly out of our articleship experience, which we have mentioned in our CV. So they will always ask you what you have did, and that what you have did. So that if we have done it and if we have done it in a good manner, we'll be able to answer confidently, and that will be enough for our interview. So there is nothing, any internship or anything like if unless and until you want to get in a very specialized field like India specialization or any GST specialization. So that certificate course might help, but apart from that, if you are having a good and rich articleship experience, so then that can be a point in making clear your interviews.
I want like try to expand this question. Yeah, please go on.
No, sure. Please, I'm so sorry to cut you off. Please.
No problem. This is a question to Manish and Ankit. They have been interviewing a lot of people who are fresher chartered accountants and mid-level experienced people. So Manish and Ankit, if you can go one by one. When you hire a fresher CA, the person may not have the relevant requisite expertise what you require in a role. So when you hire a fresher CA, do you only see the article experience or you see other things also? Ankit, if you can go first.
Yeah.
Okay, so typically here when we kind of recruit a freshly qualified CA and their journey or their experiences of the article doesn't sync with the profile we are looking for. To be frank, that's never a constraint, I mean, I got into the industry with zero experience, so that itself is the example. And they really didn't mind that I didn't have the relevant experience because they focused on the skill set. I mean. So the entire focus is on the skill set. Now, say for someone says that I have done stat audit of a manufacturing company, I mean, so they will focus on your experiences, what was your role, and where substantially you are able to kind of answer the questions around that. I mean, so you really had a good experience, an enriching experience, or you probably kind of just touch based, I mean, that area which you have experienced so far. If you have done some job and if you have done it like really with good experience, I mean, then that can be extrapolated to any other profile also. I mean, because at the start there is a lot of training being given to the new joinees. I mean, and you are in a mold which can be kind of flexed as per the work requirements. I mean, so that's never a constraint. I mean, so all those who are thinking that their journeys were specifically around stat, but today they look forward for something completely different, don't worry. I mean, that's not a constraint at all.
Oh, wow. Manish, you would like to add on something?
Yeah, so just continuing with what Ankit said, I mean, and Aditi also highlighted very, very clearly that there are so many different profiles out there. There are so many different roles out there. Organizations recruiting don't really expect you to know in depth of their roles and profiles because that is not what you have been doing in your CA. But what organizations definitely look for is the conceptual clarity. Do you understand what you have read through? Yes, some of them might be theoretical, but do you have that theoretical understanding of the concepts? And to the extent you have had any good industrial training or articleship, how well you can explain those experiences. So what organization want is, do you understand things conceptually? For the work that you have done, are you able to explain that carefully? And both these things essentially lead them to identify the potential that you have. So, organizations are rather hiring for your potential. So you need to show them that potential through your theoretical knowledge and through your articleship or industrial experience knowledge. After that, if they see the potential and if they say that there is a willingness in you to learn a new profile or new role, they will hire you. So absolutely not knowing in detail about a role or profile is not a constant. If you focus on fundamentals of all the concepts and your articleship and industrial training experience, you will get it.
Sure. One other extended question which I've already received in advance, and Manish, this question is specifically to you and to Shubham also. So first I'll go to Manish. Is that a fresher CA needs to know what all roles and investment banking offers to a fresher CA? When we say investment banking, I'm sure it's a broad term. And for a fresher CA, any investment bank, be it an Indian investment bank or be it a foreign investment bank, what all rules and what is this controlling rules, this financial controlling rules, if you can explain and elaborate in brief.
Okay, so what I'll quickly do is brief you guys on the investment banking, and I'll probably let Shubham cover more on the controlling wrong, with his experience also. So it's very valid point that when we talk about investment banking, it is a very broad term, and within investment banking, if I break down, there are three broad roles. One is the what we call front office or trading role. The other one is middle office operations role, and the third one is the finance or back office role. For a fresher CA to get into a trading is probably very rare for simple reason that a lot of organizations don't really hire fresher CA for a trading kind of a role. Yes, there are very rare opportunities. If you want to focus on them, there are very few organizations that you need to focus on and strategize accordingly. But quite a few banks do offer the middle office and finance kind of role, and they are very, very high profile roles. Like there could be a notion sometimes that finance or back office is probably not a very great role to start with. I've been into the investment banking finance for a pretty long time, and it is a very high profile role as I kind of were going towards. So yes, it is important to understand within investment banking which role you are aiming for, and accordingly you need to target the organizations which are offering those sort of a role. Another thing I'll quickly touch upon here is a lot of us, again to my earlier answer, would not have done things specific to investment banking in our articleship. Yes, some of us might have done bank audit and it comes handy. But even if you have not done banking, as far as you can understand the basic products, if you have the understanding of what is a future forward interest rate swaps, how the Black-Scholes model works, very high level theoretical, that is what people will be looking to test. equally, you should have some interest in the market, like what is going into the Indian market on a day-to-day basis, why suddenly things go up, go down. So you should have fundamental understanding, and that understanding is what the recruiter in an investment bank will more probably be looking for. There are multiple roles within finance also. Shubham, if you like to touch upon those, or more specifically on controller's role.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, like in the
Shubham,
finance
hi.
role,
Sorry to
like
interrupt.
what
Shubham, you need to
generally
adjust
we
your
investment-
camera. Shubham, hi. Sorry to interrupt. You have to adjust your camera. Can't see you.
Is it fine now?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, Shubham, please go ahead.
Sorry about. Yeah. So I was just saying that like as part of the finance roles, right? Like which these investment banks offer in India to CA freshers are generally like first is like financial reporting. So where like for all the products like which they deal in, so like you should know basically the accounting for those roles, right? Like accounting for those products, and like you should be familiar with the gaps and all. The second role like which they offer is like legal entity controllers. So basically they call it like LEC role. So they're like for all the small entities like which these investment bank have like in multiple countries and all. So for that like you have to go for the accounting, and like if a new product is coming in that entity, you have to deal about that. The third role like which they offer generally is in regulatory reporting. So basically like to the regulators, like there are generally reportings which happen on a monthly or a quarterly basis. So like they generally offer you roles related to that. And like one more role like which is which they offer is like product controllership. So this role is like about let's say for different products like which investment bank deal in, and you have to basically like analyze the PNL on a daily basis for the trader, like who is dealing into that product. So these are the like broader roles which investment banks like offer to a CA. And like as like Nish and Aditi highlighted earlier, like you did not have to know everything, like you did not need to have a work experience within an investment bank, but like theoretically you should have knowledge about let's say the gaps and like these products and like how the accounting will happen. So that will definitely give you an edge.
Right. Thank you, Shubham. And thank you, Manish. Moving on next is Mr. Mayur Gupta. Mayur, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mayur, please
My
go ahead.
question is, 2 days back, I got a call from Deloitte and KPMG. I was not, according to them, I was not fit for their role because I took around 6 attempts to clear my finals. How this number of attempts is going to impact my chances of being shortlisted in campus interview or off campus? That's my question.
Ankit, can you take this question on Big Four?
Sure. So here, typically, I mean, for 3 to 4 attempts, or I have even heard 5 attempts. I mean, definitely, Big Fours are not that finicky. I mean, and they give equal opportunity. There is a level playing field for everyone. But after 5, yes, they do kind of, get little finicky, and sometimes the profiles are not shortlisted. I mean, so then you might have to kind of, try offline. I mean, specifically, I would say off campus, because in campus, definitely they will be very particular about these requirements, which they will specify in advance. I mean, off campus, they are sometimes even flexible or little flexible. So your chances are more. But if you're looking for these Big Fours who have made it very clear their requirements in campus, then I would say that campus is not a very good idea for you.
Sorry, I'm not talking about only Big Fours. I'm talking about like Indian banks or some other. Is there also any criteria about number of attempts or something? Like basically I'm targeting for Indian banks.
Anyone can take up this question who has an idea.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not
I-
too
you want to
sure
go
if
ahead?
they have.
Yeah, Shubham, go on.
Sorry. Yeah. So like So let's say if you are targeting Indian banks, so like ICICI Bank is like one of the very active recruiter, and like ICICI Bank go for like almost all the cities like in campus, right? And they're generally like what we have seen like in the past, like they're generally they don't have as such like attempt requirements, right? So they generally like pick people who have more than let's say 4 or 5 attempts as well. So like you can target that like from an Indian bank perspective. Plus like there are some other companies as well like which participate in campus, and like there as well like there is not at such multiple attempt criteria. So like one being you can see like Genpact also does not have this like filtering based on the number of attempts, and like Genpact also like go into 2-3 cities. So that way you can see.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shubham. Moving on next. We have a person named Sandeep. Sandeep, hi. You have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. I got a call from Goldman Sachs last week, and they are scheduling my interview next week. May I know how the organization like Goldman Sachs evaluate an interview? Like I have already gone through interview of a Big Four and like a bank, and I was just want to know how organization like Goldman Sachs evaluate and how the interview process differs from those of like Indian companies, and how is there anything like critical than what Big Four do and like?
So Manish, can you give a broad answer, not specific to Goldman Sachs, but what usually an investment bank looks in a financial controller role in a fresher CA?
Yeah, so I mean, just to reiterate what Ashish also said, I mean, we obviously don't want to talk about a specific bank's strategy, but generally talking about what banks looks for, and this is what somewhat linked to what I mentioned earlier also. One, you need to have conceptual understanding of all the financial instrument related topics you have covered in your CA. So when it comes to all the financial instrument, how the accounting works for them, how the valuation works for them. So you should have a broad idea, what an interest rate swap is as an example, what is the option valuation strategy, what is call put parity theory. So all these concepts which you have already gone through in your CA curriculum, you need to refresh them, polish them, because those might be tested. Because in a bank, you will have to work in and around various financial instruments. So that is number one. Number two is more around general understanding of the market. Nobody is expecting you to know a very complicated trading strategy on how a trader would make money, but people would understand, will expect you to understand how a financial instrument can give you profit and loss. So that understanding or the commercial understanding of how some of these instruments work is necessary. And the third thing which is quite unique to investment banking profiles is the deadlines or timelines. I mean, for a normal financial reporting role, we might be looking at a monthly or a quarterly kind of a deadline. But for some of the investment banking role, you will have few things that you need to get delivered on on a daily basis, or within daily also on certain timeline basis. So what people are looking for also a lot of time is how organized you are in your approach, and if that organization skill that you have can be used to some of these roles. So yeah, just to recap, your conceptual understanding, your commercial understanding of how market operates, and how organized and confident you look in your approach.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay. So next person I have Mr. Chirag. Hi, Chirag. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi.
Yes. Go on.
Yeah, they are the big fours which are involved in Indian practice, and they are the big fours which are supporting US arm. So which is the better one?
I can take up this question. So, Chirag, to be frank, there is no straight answer to it. I mean, it completely depends on what kind of exposure you want to get into. I mean, so when I say the Indian one, I mean, so that will be an extrapolation of probably what you have done in your articleship, and that will be country specific, which is India. When I talk about and which will be the client facing, I mean, in the global role, I mean, it will not be client facing all the time. You might might have few rotations or client interactions, I mean, virtually, but it won't be like a directly client facing role, but you will be getting a exposure of global market. I mean, there are certain industries which probably might not be very active or of a huge size in India, but probably that is in US. I mean, so sitting here and applying for a global role, you get exposure of that market here. Like say for I can take example of hedge fund industry in India. Hedge fund industry is a very small pond, I mean, but when it comes to US, it's an ocean, I mean. So sitting here, you get that exposure, I mean, when you take up global roles, I mean. So probably you have to take a step back and see what excites you, I mean. Will you want to take a deeper dive into what you have learned in your articleship and build blocks on that, I mean? If that's the case, then go for the Indian role, I mean. And if you want to expand your horizon in terms of the skill sets and the industries you want to cover, go for a global role.
Thank you. I have another question for you, Ankit. I also want to pursue other professional courses like MBA or civil services. So which one will add value to my career and when to go for it? I start right now or should I take a break or should I join an organization, complete 2 years and go for these courses?
See, the courses that you mentioned, I mean, those are full-time courses, I mean, and in today's time, when you get into a job, to be frank, you don't have much time, I mean. So I'm not too sure whether you will able to do justice to both of your commitments, which probably you might be taking together, I mean. So if you are very committed that you want to complete these, I mean, I wouldn't say that it is a good idea to take them together with your full-time job because your full-time job takes a lot, I mean.
Thank you, Ankit.
No problem.
I have another person named as Damini Deshpande. Damini, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, please go on.
So I have two questions. First one is, apart from campus and reference, where should I apply? And the second one is, apart from campus and reference, okay? And the second one is it wise to go for a contract basis in the start of your career? Like there are 8 months contract, 6 months contract, and then they are saying that we'll judge you on your performance and will make you permanent. So is it wise to go for that on your first job only?
Aditi, can you take the first part since you're a campus select, but did you also apply to off-campus roles also?
Yeah, so Damini, coming on to your first question. So apart from campus, obviously there are many other opportunities wherein you can apply and wherein you can get selected through off-campus also. So basically, apart from campus, you have to based on the network that you have around, you can obviously apply in different companies. You can refer your CV through your networks. And secondly, the consultancy companies like Phenom, they can obviously help you in reaching out to a large number of companies because they are having a networking thing and all. So based on that, you can apply. And yeah, there are many good companies which are coming off campus also. Like to mention, one Goldman Sachs is coming off campus. So by applying your CV there and by based on your network and all, you can surely go to off campus. So but it's basically trying that how much network you have built and how much dedicatedly you have forwarded your CV in different companies to your referrals and networks and based on this consultancy companies. So these will definitely help you in getting an opportunity off campus also.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, I have already forwarded my CV to my references.
Yeah.
So I was asking to forward to go for a sites like Naukri.com and all, or should I apply it on their sites? If say let's say a particular company ICICI Bank, so should I go and apply on their site, or should I go for Naukri.com's IIM jobs like that?
For these sites, Naukri and IIM jobs which you're talking about, mostly what I have seen is they are mostly more involved into CA lateral hiring as compared to CA freshers. So for freshers, the consultancy companies, and directly applying on the company's website might help you in getting, as compared to the Naukri and IIM jobs.
Okay, thank you.
Here's one thing, Manish, if you can answer this question. We all have studied in our CA curriculum, we all have our secret strategies to clear our examination. When it comes to a job, is it okay if I become selfish and I don't share the opportunities with my friends or with my groups? I keep it secretive because nowadays we have Insta, WhatsApp, everything. So is it wise to keep things to yourself because your job is at stake, and of course everyone wants job. So how to make a balance between your selfishness and between your, a responsible friend?
I'm sorry to say my second question was unanswered. It was on contract basis.
Yeah, I can take up your second question also, and then Ashish will answer, the question that you asked also. So, coming first to your contracting question, see, contracting as an industry is still very much at a primitive stage in India and is still developing. Like when I look at, some of the outside Indian markets, the contracting industry is very wide in the sense most of the organizations do hire people on a contract, 6 months, 12 months, or even 2 years or longer term contracts. So outside India, there are people who have been, working say 20 years, and for those 20 years, they have always been contracting. So that way, there are more contracting opportunities. So you can obviously, very well go for any contracting opportunity. Within India, it is still developing. It is to some extent a personal choice also, that do you feel comfortable working for a role which 6 months down the line might become a permanent role and might not become a permanent role. So this is, I think, a personal choice, but it is not bad to go for a contract role, if I can put it that way. If you want to go for a contract role where there is an opportunity to become a perm after 8 months or a year, you can try that. It also, as I said, it's a personal choice, and it's also a matter of, what other options you have available. And if the company which you want to go for is only offering contracting, you might take this up. So it depends on multiple things, but contracting, to sum up, is not a very developed concept in India. It will still develop over coming years, but it is not a bad choice if it is giving you the role or organization you want.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and now coming to Ashish, coming to your questions on it. So, it's a fair question, and a lot of us, as you rightly said, in our academic career would have very unique, kind of study techniques or, techniques around how do we execute an exam. I feel even during student life, you don't need to keep it secret. I'm not saying you go and publish this on Facebook or Instagram saying, this is how I read and this is how I write my exams. But in your network, there is no harm in sharing that, because if something is working for you, you might never know how many other people it will work for. And if you are sharing something, it is not taking away anything from you. So I feel generally as a policy, sharing is a good practice. Yes, you can decide who do you want to share it with, and it is also somewhat a personal decision, but I think sharing in general is good. And when it obviously comes to your professional life and career, this is where the networking starts. If today you are sharing an opportunity, you are aware with 5 other people in your group, tomorrow, if there is an opportunity they are aware of, they will share with you. So, this is how it works. Nobody is stopping you to apply for that role. And, whether you want it or not, if you end up hiding that opportunity from 5 of your friends, these opportunities are open to anybody across India or outside India. So you are anyways, competing with a population which is India wide open. So there is no point, then not sharing this within your network. So, as a very strong opinion from my side on this one is, sharing is the best practices, even in your, student life. But if you have not been doing that in your professional life, do that. And what you give will definitely come back, is the other way of putting it. That if you share something with others, they will share their opportunities with you. And that's how you will develop network in longer run.
Right, well said. Next person is Mr. Ankit Abhinav. Ankit, can you hear me?
Sorted.
Ankit Abhinav.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah,
My question is sorted. Thank you. My question is already sorted.
Okay, already sorted.
Thank you.
All right. Next is Sohil Jain. Sohil, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Yes, please
Hello.
go ahead with your question.
Yes, sir. First question of mine is to Aditi ma'am. How can I prepare for group discussion? Matlab, what are the topics I should look after for the campus? What kind of topics I should prepare for group discussion?
Yeah, so preparing around GD, see the topics which most of the companies like, there's no specific list for the topics, but topics which most of the companies will ask will be around the general current affairs that are going on. Like suppose if I'm giving you my example, at my time when I cleared my CA in 2017, GST was introduced, as you might be aware. So most of the companies are asking questions about GST, about its concept and its impact on the company's operation. So what I suggest you should be very well versed with what are the current topics or the current affairs that are going on. Like for example, if current situation, if we are in, and if I might suggest you that company can ask GD topics around this impact of COVID on operations of the companies, on the way of operation, or how the company will, change this operation due to this COVID pandemic, and maybe preparing companies for this any future pandemic like this. So the GG topics will always be around the current affair that are going on. And secondly, how to prepare for it. So preparation always needs your dedication and your time. And the one thing which you can do is there are several now there are online so many news apps which are going through. But what I personally suggest is the best thing to get information on this current affairs is the English newspaper. So you can start any of the English newspaper, and you can, because when we read it physically or offline, you grasp more clearly as compared to any online or any that thing. So if you start a newspaper, take note down of things. If you're following one topic, suppose COVID maybe, so what the impact of COVID, now follow every day what is the news coming around that. And when in GD you will quote the news clipping, or maybe like that, that news has come and that was the headline, so it will surely earn you a brownie point. So preparing around the current affairs topic and preparing that through reading newspaper daily regularly will definitely help you in clearing your GD.
Okay, ma'am. One more questions to you.
Yeah.
Is it necessary? The topics of the GD would always be surrounding like CA topics, like corporate news, or the other news as well. Suppose Taliban or something.
Yeah, I mean, there is no such restriction that it will surround only around finance or CA. There can be general affairs, like you said, Taliban, or there was one company which asked the question about US policies after Obama was, or Donald Trump was appointed as president. After that, at that time, they have asked that question also. So it's not very specific that they will ask about only finance. So that's why I told you about current affairs which are going on. Current affairs should be the base. Yeah.
I have one more question. Am I allowed to ask?
This topic only. I want to ask that how to practice case studies which are asked in the campus. There are case study group discussions as well. So how to practice that?
Yeah, so mostly in GD case studies only they will ask. So there is no separate strategy to prepare for case studies. The only thing which can help you crack any format of GD will be your knowledge on the current affairs topic, and secondly, your communication skills. So if you have that knowledge, the concrete knowledge, and you have good communication skill, or if you are able to present that in a good manner, that can definitely help you in cracking any format, maybe case studies, maybe general, or anything like that. So basically you should have two things: knowledge, the content you should have. So if you are just, the content here is very important, which will give you or boost your confidence to speak in front of multiple people who are there. So yeah, so I mean, if you're having content and communication skills, you can crack any format of GD.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question if I'm allowed?
Yes, no problem. Go ahead.
Another three-part question.
My question is, as we discussed before, that if you have a particular, actually I am from I have done my articleship from mid-size firm, so I got an exposure for statutory audit, but I want to make my career internal audit. But when I am applying for in off campus for internal audit profile, the hiring team, the HR team always ask me, you don't tell me that you don't have any exposure in internal audit team, so they do not shortlist my resume. What can I do for it? Matlab, what other thing I can do to be an internal audit department?
See, as we mentioned earlier also, because of for a fresher chartered accountant, the profile which you have worked in your articleship doesn't matter, doesn't decide or doesn't matter in the company, in the future company profile which you are going in. And regarding your this profile shortlisting, when you will go in campus, so campus generally will it will not be very specific to okay, you have statutory audit, so you will get shortlisting in statutory audit profile only. So it's like you can apply in the companies which are having the internal audit role as profile as role, and then you can mention clearly that although I've worked in statutory audit, but my interest in is in internal audit, and obviously you need to be theoretically clear about the concepts of internal audit, so that it will give the interviewer the confidence that if I am asking anything or the concepts of internal audit is clear, if a person interest is there, then the concept should also be there. So I guess that will be, that will help you go through your CV, go through your interview.
Ankit, also, if I can invite you on this question, I think a lot of questions, we have received this question 2 or 3 times. So this I'm inviting you also. Since you've been into statutory audit or external audit, I believe some part of audit, statutory audit, is also covered in internal audit, like revenue leakage, data staging.
Yes, and specifically the control environment aspect of it, which is there in the internal audit also and stat audit also. So there can be few very specific roles where those are for specialized processes. I mean, where they can say that, hey, I think having an internal audit is an added advantage. But typically, if you have the stat audit experience, I mean, internal audit is profile is not a taboo at all. I mean, I know a lot of people, or so a lot of people from my friends also, I mean, who are now leading in internal audit, and they never were part of internal audit before. I mean, so that's not a taboo. I mean, it could be a specialized role where they could have said that, but otherwise, you can definitely explore more into this area with other brands. I mean.
Thank you. Next person is Miss Nidhi Devidan. Nidhi, can you hear us?
Hello, am I audible,
Yeah, Nidhi,
sir?
if you can. Yes, please go ahead, Nidhi.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask in campus interview, as we are rankers, so they will focus only on our personality or experience, or they will still ask us on academics?
You're saying that you're a ranker, and or based on that you're asking the question, right?
Yes. I want to know they will only focus on my personality or experience, or they will still test my academic knowledge?
See, Nidhi, being a ranker obviously gives you added advantage, because there are some companies which are shortlisting only rankers, but it's never the thing that they will not ask you academic or your skill, or they will not test your skills. They will surely test your skills, and they will obviously expect that being a ranker, your skills or your academics will be very good and very proficient. So you should be you cannot sideline this thing that they will not test our academic skills.
And I will just like to add on here that in a lot of companies, I mean, they have specific rules for the rankers, I mean, where their even pay scale is high. So typically they expect more, or they check more on academics actually.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
All right, next is Miss Akhila Maria. Akhila, if you can hear us. Akhila Maria. Okay, the next person is Mahek. Mahek, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So I wanted to get into the M&A roles in the Big Fours, M&A or the FDD roles. So as a fresher CA, will the Big Fours be willing to take the freshers into the M&A role? Or will they again be looking into audit or the other advisory lines and not take us into the M&A roles, because we do not have any other qualifications like the CFA or something?
So Akhila, typically the M&A roles are very niche roles. I mean, where it doesn't come as generally as you probably see for assurance or advisory MN. So those are very specific roles where maybe they are very particular in terms of having either a rank holder MN, and I have also seen that mostly they do prefer lateral hires also MN. So you can always probably go for another role and then see what are the skill sets required, work for it, and then make a switch. But at the entry level, maybe without a rank, I mean, I would say that it's a tough bet. I mean, not I'm saying that it is impossible, but it's not as general as what you see the other roles from Big Four. I mean.
Or if I do a certification like the Corporate Finance Institute, they have the financial modeling and valuation analyst certification. So if I do something like that, will it add value?
Definitely, because that's part of the JDMN and that's part of the role. So definitely, if you have done something on those lines, it gives you an edge, MN. So definitely, it will help.
Okay, so one more question. If other than that, if I'm looking at the FP&A role, financial planning and analyst role. Again, is that a very difficult role to get into?
Not at all. Not at all.
So can you give me examples of companies that would hire in the FP&A role?
See, it will difficult to zero in some of the names, I would say, but you can always see it from the standpoint that, say, for there are 10 companies in the campus who are offering, say, for FP&A. I mean, so FP&A is something where I would again say that it comes into the generic category. I mean, where there is a lot of sea of opportunities, I would say, at each level. I mean, so in the campus, I would say that there are multiple entities which comes with FP&A roles. I mean, at the starting level also. So I don't think that is a roadblock. I mean.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem.
Mike, if I can add one more thing, as a consultant, we hire for Big Fours. So I think with the panel's permission, I'm just adding a point here. For FDD, you mentioned, so Big Fours have 3 divisions in management consulting. First is called FDD, which is financial due diligence, you rightly mentioned. Second is valuation, and third is deal advisory. So all these 3 are parts of their M&A or the management consulting part. So the first part, which is FDD, is open to chartered accountants, both freshers and experience. Even if you have done your articleship in statutory audit, you are very welcome in FDD rule, because FDD rule, they require someone who has a thorough understanding of balance sheet, who can analyze the ratios and can project something out of the financial statements given. So this FDD role specifically is open for freshers and experienced chartered accountants both. You don't require a rank for that. You just require an analytical bend of mind. And across Big Fours, across locations, they're hiring for FDD. Of course, in limited numbers, but yes, the hiring is still on. That's the first thing. You mentioned that you want to do certain course in corporate finance. This is always useful. Any added advantage, any additional qualification will add an added advantage to your part. You want to do third part on your FP&A. I think Ankit has already covered, or you want more clarity on FP&A part?
No, I've got an idea about I can apply in the campus, but the problem is the number of roles that I see in FP&A is very limited.
So honestly, FP&A is a part of, again, this is a broader part of finance. Yeah, sure. Shubham, please go ahead.
Sorry. So when you were asking for some of the companies, so companies which I know from my experience in the past, that which offer FP&A role in the campus is one is HCL Technologies. So they have their office in Noida. So they generally offer FP&A role for CA freshers. Accenture also sometimes offer FP&A role for freshers. So these 2 are the examples which I have in mind for specifically for the companies which offer this role.
Okay, thank you so much.
And also, Manish, if I can, intervene in between, this is again a question which many candidates ask about roles, F&A, FP&A, pricing, budgeting, financial controlling. So, for example, if a fresher CA gets into an F&A role, is there any internal transfers also through IGPs, or is there an internal movement also happens after 1 year or 2 years?
A very valid question and something which, as a fresher talent, we need to understand. See, we are very much focused a lot of time that, I want to go into a XYZ specific profile, which is good, and we should obviously try for that. But if there are less opportunities available, say in campus or off campus around it, you should not feel that, this is not the start I wanted to make in my career. Because to Ashish's point, all the big organization, all the MNC have a very good internal flexibility. They do allow you to move roles after 12, 18 months. I mean, the time period can differ from organization to organization, but I would say in short term, they do allow you to kind of change roles if you are looking to do something else within their broader department. So it is I would say very easy to change roles within organizations. So if you are not getting the initial profile that you are after, probably join somewhere which is a closer profile to that or within the broader finance team. And if you, for example, want to go for a budgeting role, a financial reporting role, a planning role, you will get enough opportunities in a shorter period of time to shift roles. Also, if I can probably add on here that some of these roles might sound and feel pretty much the same to a fresher CA. And trust me, till the time you are not on the seat, it is also difficult to differentiate, what are the details of those roles. So I also believe once you start working into any sort of finance role, you will have a better understanding and appreciation of what a budgeting role offers versus a planning role versus a reporting role. So it is never a bad thing to start with a broader finance role if you are not getting the specific role you want, and you will have ample opportunities to obviously apply for roles within an organization, change your profiles as early as, as I said, between 12 to 18 months time. I mean, in my career, I have probably taken half a dozen internal transfers and shifted different roles and profiles within finance.
Right. Well said. Next one is Mr. Vishal Mittal. Vishal, can you hear us?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Vishal, go ahead.
Okay, I have a very personal question. I qualified my CA in July 21, but my articleship is officially extended till the end of January. So shall I start applying for the jobs now, or shall I wait for a few months? My concern is, will the company allow me to have a later joining date, or will they ask me as a fresher to join immediately?
Aditi, if you can do this question from ICA point of view, campus point of view.
Yeah, so Vishal, from a campus point of view, if I'll see, it will be a very little difficult, because the companies will, suppose if you get selected in next 1 month also, so next 1 month is like October, so there is no this company which gives you a joining of after 4 months or after 5 months. I mean, like the maximum period which you can take is 2 months or 3 months later joining they can give you. So maybe 4 or 5 months is a very long time, and we cannot. I mean, like that can be a option. That can be a point which can, refrain you from getting final offer letter because of the joining date issue. So that's a little difficult to get in, because the time period is long. Maximum 3 months we can see, because I have also got my offer like joining it after 3 months. But yeah, I guess that's the maximum time.
So shall I start after November or December? Shall I start applying for the jobs after December?
Yeah, I mean, like you can start looking around November, December, so that the joining date and your articleship or free date is there's not much difference. So once you get free from your articleship, you can join. Well, yeah, 1 and 2, 3 months, or maybe 1, 2 months is a fine time, because every company knows that the articleship extends even after you're clearing your CA, that they also have in their mind. But 4, 5 months will be a little longer time.
Thank you.
All right, Deepak Dubey is our next person who will ask question. Deepak, can you hear me? Deepak, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Am I audible to you?
Yes, Deepak, please go ahead.
So my question is, how can we start preparing ourselves for the campus interviews, GDs, from now on? Like, what should be our strategy?
GD, I think Aditi has already taken care of. Ankit, if you can also add on few points on GD, this is a common question.
See, you have to get into the shoes of the person who has given you this task. I mean, that what exactly they are noticing. I mean, or what exactly they are trying to evaluate. I mean, to be frank, you don't need to worry too much about GD topics and your in-depth knowledge about it. I mean, because they are not checking your technical there. I mean, if there is something, a current affair where generally, I mean, it's not a taboo. It's not that by default you don't have an edge. I mean, what they are trying to evaluate there is the communication skills. I mean, so the skill set evaluation in the GD round is different than what you probably would have in your technical round. I mean, so that is the first thing that you have to understand. I mean, normally, I mean, we see that in GD a lot of times, I mean, it becomes little chaotic because a lot of people jump into kind of, expressing their opinion. I mean, so at times, I mean, when you are kind of, settling that chaos which is there, I mean, you get brownie points for that also because there won't be any moderator. I mean, like say for there is a company which has given you a topic. I mean, so there won't be any representative who will be saying that, hey, can you speak? I mean, or can you express your opinion? They give you the topic and it's up to you how you channelize it. I mean, so that way you have to get the perspective that what exactly they are evaluating. I mean, and say for I will give you a classic example. Say for there is a person, I mean, who is trying to jump into again and again, but is very soft spoken and not able to articulate his or her thoughts. I mean, you can always jump into and say that, hey, can we hear this person who is trying to say again and again, but probably not able to speak to? I mean, that definitely gives you an edge and a lot of brownie points because you are making sure that everyone is involved, everyone is participating. So not every time your knowledge on the topic is the decision maker. I mean, so these are some of the tips or tricks I would say for GD, which you have to be very careful. Sometimes say for you are finding it difficult to get into the conversation, you can always kind of say that, hey, sorry to interject, I will just like to add on to what we just heard from this person. I mean, so these are some of the small tricks and tips where in a very subtle way, you can get into the conversation, you can show that you can articulate your thoughts and, you can organize your thoughts clearly. And that's the whole purpose. I mean, so not necessary that every time through knowledge of the topic only you can do that, you can do it otherwise also. So be patient. I mean, be participating all the time, observe all the people. I mean, and wait for the right opportunity. I mean, don't get disappointed that probably you thought that this was the point and it is already taken by other person. Don't get carried away with that. I mean, that that might end. I mean, but that's not end of the world. I mean, so you still have a lot of opportunities to showcase that you can speak clearly.
So my next question is, as we are fresher, should we more focus on the package or the profile?
Uh, I would say I have a very easy answer that you shouldn't focus much on the package, I mean, because the profile is something which should excite you. I mean, so when you go through the JD, I mean, the job description, I mean, see what your instincts say. I mean, try to link the JD with your skill set, I mean, and your weaknesses, I mean, and see that what syncs better. I mean, today you take a profile where you are being offered 10 lakhs, but you are not able to give your 100%. So maybe 3 years down the line, you will be at 10 only. Today, you go for something which excites you a lot, which probably offers 8 MN. In 3 years, you will give your 100% and will reach to 15 MN. So which sounds better to you today? So you should always think from long-term perspective because you have started your career and you will be in this for rest of your life. I mean, maybe. So you should be very cautious while you choose something whereby you should always focus on your job description. I mean, I know that everyone wants to feel good that maybe their neighbors or relatives say that, hey, I got 15. Oh, I got 18. I mean, but that's very temporary. It doesn't matter. I mean, so don't worry.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Hello. Jiten here. Hi.
Yeah, Jiten, please ask a question.
Yes. So my question is very much unique to my situation. Currently, I'm working at a place, and my notice period will end till the mid of November. And as of now, I got selected into an internal audit department of a Big Four, and they want someone to join at the earliest possible, which they are saying that that should be mid of October. But my current company does not have exactly that policy that they can let me go in the earlier time. So how should I deal with it? And in the meantime, the campus interviews are going on, and I haven't registered for it yet. So whether or not should I register it, and how should I deal with the situation? So that's my question.
Yeah, I can take it up if you want, Ashish. So, you know, I mean, it is bit, not aligned to the topic that we were covering on the session, but we'll still offer you some quick advice. I think mid-October or mid-November, as you rightly said, is not too far away. I think you should still go for the campus because there will be companies who will still give you, joining mid of November. So I think that should be fine. I mean, yes, there might be a couple of options which are ruled out for you, but broadly, people will wait till mid of November and you should go for the campus. With regard to very specific situation you are mentioning about, the role that you have been offered in internal audit department, I mean, you will have to try a balance there. You will have to talk to your current managers, try and convince them if they can release you a few weeks earlier, and equally try and convince your new employer to see if they can wait for you for another 2 weeks. There is no easy or right or wrong answer here. You will have to negotiate a bit with both the parties. So hopefully you can get to a common date. I mean, you are not far away. Mid-October, mid-November is just a month away. If you can agree on both the sides to wait for another couple of weeks, I think you can get through.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. And another question I have is about the global practice which the Big Fours have. So I have an offer of from USI, but I have heard from some other colleagues and friends that this is not a client-facing profile, and I should probably avoid it for the long term. So what are your thoughts on that?
To be frank, I have experienced both the sides, I mean, where I have done client facing as well, and I have done the global role also. I wouldn't say that both of them are, it's like comparing them is like an apple to apple comparison. As I did mention a while back, the perspective of a country practice and the perspective of a global role is completely different, I mean. So you probably have to evaluate little more that what are your priorities, I mean. If you really want to build blocks on what you have learned during your articleship, I mean, and deep dive and take it to the another level, maybe country practice is a good option for you. But if you want to explore, wider aspect of things, I mean, in a global role, I mean, in terms of covering maybe a different industry or different bouquet of skill sets, I would say, because you are dealing with a global client, I mean, not someone who is next to you, I mean. So then a global role is a better fit, I mean. Coming to the exposure part of it, where what you get in a country experience a client, I mean, and a global role. So these global setups are now quite matured, I would say. When they kind of, were very new, I mean, definitely you used to scratch the surface and you used to do very basic work, but now they all have completed like 10 years, 15 years in this setup, I mean, so their work profiles, I mean, almost resembles to probably what you will get an experience in the country practice side. I mean, it's just that you won't be visiting the client, you will be dealing with them or you will be discussing with them over Zoom or maybe Teams, I mean, so that is the difference, I mean. So over the period of, I would say, last 5 to 7 years, I mean, things have changed metamorphically for these global setups as well.
Okay, sir, thank you. Just like what I've heard is that the learning gets limited within, like, once I start in a particular role, the learning ends pretty soon, like within few months or years, and then it's the same job repeating itself. So that's my concern. That's it.
So there you can make a switch. I mean, like say for Big Fours have, I would say, multiple industries which they cover and multiple teams. I mean, so there, like say for you have spent, say for 1.5 years or 2 years where your clients are pretty similar and you don't find something exciting, you can always change your industry. I mean, or you can always look for something which is like a quasi role, which has the dynamics of your current role, but at the same time, 50% of it is completely new. I mean, so you can always make a switch, I mean, internally.
So, well, that's my concern. Like also, I've heard that once you get into a particular role, it's difficult to change the role entirely, because then in the next role which we are aiming for, they consider you as a fresher pretty much. So yeah.
Not exactly, not exactly. In my journey of almost, I would say, little more than 6 years with this global practice or a global setup of these big fours, I have seen multiple switches. I mean, in fact, when I joined the last one, I mean, it was a mutual fund industry, and I have never worked in a mutual fund industry. So that's not a taboo at all.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
No problem.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, how to choose location while applying for campus? I mean, what are the...
Wait, before... sorry, before we start this question, I'm sorry, I just want to add Manish in the last question, because this is a question that many candidates are asking us well in advance regarding those Big Four shared services and US practice. So Manish, I have two-part question which I've received well in advance. One, do Big Four shared services also have similar setup, like from when you join as an analyst or associate, can you reach till partner level? That's one. And second, is there any road which opens from Big Four shared services to investment banks also?
Yeah, so very short answer to both of them is yes. If you start into any sort of global banking practices, which is not aligned to Indian client-facing services, which Ankit also alluded to, you have ample opportunity to grow. And if I can kill the notion or myth here that a lot of people probably refer to saying that some of these global practices doesn't obviously offer you the client facing role, which Ankit also mentioned too, but it does offer you a very big flavor of the industry as a whole. You get to know about the global practices, global culture. Equally, you might get very good opportunities to work from different location of the same global practice. So yes, it doesn't give you a flavor of client facing roles, or give a less flavor of the client facing role, but it equally offers you avenues or other skill set which Ankit was also covering. So both Indian or global practices have immense growth. You need to decide what attracts you. There is no blocker in any one of them. I know a lot of people in my wider network who started as a fresher CA into global practices and now working as a managing director or partner of different firms. So that is absolutely possible. There is no blocker to it. Don't go with the myth or people talking around you saying this is not good, this is not so good, or you will probably not be able to shift roles. I think I mentioned within my career, I changed roles at least half a dozen times through internally moving role within the organization. So organization do allow you to change roles. If you find 2 years down the line you are stuck with one profile and this is not the profile I wanted to work on, you will get opportunity to changes, or more than enough opportunities to change.
Right, great, thank you. Sorry, I was cutting a question of a person who was asking.
Yes, sir. Can I continue now?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, what are the criteria to choose location while applying for campus? I mean, what should the broad points we should keep in mind while choosing a location?
Shubham, if you can take this question.
Sure, yeah. So basically, like before opting for any city, first of all, like you should do some research based on, let's say, the data which, let's say, is available to you. And like I would say that, like, don't go just like based on the number of companies which are coming to a particular city. So let's just say Mumbai and Bangalore like have the highest number of companies, right? So don't just go by that notion that like here, since the count is big, like I will let's say get more chance, right? Like first you should see what type of companies are coming to a particular location. You should see like where, let's say, your interest in, and like that is the most important thing, and you should like accordingly decide, let's say, what where you should go for.
And just to add one point here, actually, for selection of the cities, see, if Bangalore and Mumbai are having the highest number of companies, then they will surely have the highest number of candidates too. So that will increase your competition. Now, suppose just looking at the same thing in another angle. Suppose if in the same manner, if we instead of choosing Bangalore and Mumbai, if we choose Chennai. So if we choose Chennai, so the competition there will be obviously less, and the chances of getting us selected in the companies will get increased. And in Chennai, if I see statistically speaking, so in Chennai is almost like the second or the third and the fourth highest city after Bangalore, Mumbai, and Delhi, which is getting the which are getting the companies. I mean, most of the companies go there, but the candidates are less as compared to the other cities because of the same notion that because if the Chennai company will give us the posting in Chennai only. So look, we should not go on that old conventional notion that Bangalore Mumbai. We should obviously look at ourselves like I mean, what are our qualification, what are our interests if we have multiple attempts. So let's go to the place where there will be less severe competition, which will increase our chances of getting selected.
Hi. Hello. Yeah, ma'am.
Yes,
What about Hyderabad? What about Hyderabad as selecting city for campus? Like, what is your opinion on Hyderabad? Does the good companies for CA comes in Hyderabad? Like, it's mostly on IT. Like, as far as I know, the TCS, Infosys are the people who hire majorly in Hyderabad. So how it will be to select Hyderabad?
Akshay, so just as Shubham and I also mentioned earlier, it will purely depend upon what interest do you have. Before going to campus, you need to sort out your interest, that what is your interest, and then accordingly, wherever your interest companies are coming. So then that city you should choose as mentioned by you correctly, Hyderabad, because it's an growing IT hub. So mostly IT or the startup industries are mostly coming in Hyderabad. So if you have particularly interest in going to IT companies, so then you might you might consider choosing Hyderabad. But it totally depends upon your interest, which sector you are interested in.
I will also like to add on one thing here that normally it's I wouldn't say that it is a fact. I mean, and you can definitely get precise details somewhere, but I can just share from my experience. I mean, that typically the big cities like Mumbai and Delhi and Bangalore, their threshold or their benchmark for communication is relatively high. I mean, so if you are really confident about communication, then probably definitely you can try for these ones. But if you are not that confident or not that sure, then probably the two-tier cities is a safer bet for you. Again, this is not a showstopper. This is not the only reason that you will make a decision to go for which city, but just an added info to you, Ahmed.
Okay, thank you so much.
Right, and if I can also add one more point here, looking back as a number of candidate companies who came and visited Chennai and Hyderabad campuses, these are not just IT companies, FMCG companies like ITC, even government PSUs also visit Hyderabad. So Hyderabad is a bigger center, and a lot of companies other than ITs are hiring from Hyderabad and from Chennai also. Say for example, Chennai also has a recurring participant from an investment bank company, a recurring participation from a leading rating agency. So these two these two locations, Hyderabad and Chennai, offers a lot more than IT. If you just go through the list of the companies that participated in ICA campus earlier, really you'll come to know.
Okay, sure.
All right, the next person is Yusuf. Hi, Yusuf, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go on.
My question is, I am interested in investment banking. So the roles presently available are back-end roles. Can we switch to front-end after acquiring certain skills in long-term point of view? If not, if I couldn't do that, will there be a good long-term career as an accountant in the financial services industry or investment banking? From them onwards, can I switch to some from investment banking? Can I switch to stat audit in the long term?
Okay, I can pick that up. So, I mean, there are multiple questions actually, and I'll try and break them down. The first one is, if you are not getting a front office role to start with, if you start in a finance or back office role, can you switch at a later date? Answer is yes. I mean, to be honest, those opportunities are very limited, and it is not that, it is something which is very recurring or happens, very often, but it does happen. Again, from my personal experience, I know people within my teams who have moved out to those sort of roles. So it is absolutely possible. It comes down to if in a longer term that continues to be your area of interest. Because, as I said initially, it does seem like that I want to be a trader, but when you actually see what a trader does, it might not be something you want to do. But in a longer run, if that is your area of interest and you show, some hard work towards that, like the skill set which probably a trader needs, if you continue to work towards them, there is all options available for you to apply internally for those roles and get selected. Now, the second question was, what if it doesn't happen? I mean, if that doesn't happen, within finance also for an investment banking, they are fantastic profiles and, absolutely amazing career journey. So you can, from, the very bottom, you can rise up to CFO and CEO of the organizations also. And if you look at, history of some of the CFO CEOs, they started their careers within finance also only. So, I mean, yeah, have no doubt, in terms of your career journey, you can go right to the top if you are starting from finance and if you have not been a trader. Then the third question, which was around how easy or difficult it is to shift from a investment banking back to statutory audit. Again, it is possible, but it doesn't happen that often. It also depends how much time you are talking about. If you have spent 3, 4, 5 years in IB and in a financial reporting role, you can still, probably relatively easily switch back to a statutory audit kind of a role. However, if you have spent 15 years into investment banking, you will have very limited opportunity to go back to, the statutory audit. I mean, I'm not sure if you know that, but within banks also, there is a internal audit department. There is an audit department where you can obviously shift within the banks also. So again, all opportunities are open. The more time you spend, in one particular industry, the opportunities you will have to shift across industry reduces, but it does happen.
Thank you so much.
Right. Sandeep is the next person. Sandeep, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Please
I
go
can
on.
hear you. Yeah, I question, like, there are companies like Infosys and TCS which are hiring CA freshers for like associate consultant for SAP, Oracle, and even as a data analyst. We should know whether there are like growth opportunities, even if I leave those companies and take like search for another companies and even abroad for a CA fresher in those roles.
Yeah, hi Sandeep, I'll just take it up. So the consultant role which you are talking about, so again, that becomes a very specific role. I mean, like if you have entered in that role in your starting of the career, so that becomes a very specific role wherein you are giving your consultancy for the different ERPs that the companies are using from finance perspective. So yeah, so that again, while switching on to the job, while switching the jobs, that will be highlighted wherein you have saying that you have worked in and as a consultant for a SAP or something like that ERP. But again, you can highlight that you can highlight your finance knowledge and the knowledge that you have gained while that consultancy role, which can definitely help you in switching on to core finance roles. So it's not, I will not say that it's a very difficult thing or it will be a very easy thing, but yeah, you will have to try based on the knowledge that you have gained on your consultant experience so that it can help you in switching to your core finance role.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you. Next one is Mr. Jiten Nishar. Jiten, hi, can you hear me? Jiten Nishar.
I asked my question earlier. Sorry.
You already asked it? Okay, yeah. No problem.
I'll lower my hand.
Sure. Anirudh Shiva is our next person. Anirudh, if you can hear me, if you have a question, please ask. Okay, the next caller is Varsha. Varsha, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, please ask your question.
My first question is for Manish sir. Sir, if I want to get into the role in fund accounting team, which is better, as in to go for campus placements or to try for off campus?
Yeah, so see, I mean, in general, also not specific to fund accounting role. If you want a role and you are sure about it, you should try by all means. So if there are companies coming up offering fund accounting role within campus, you should try for that, and equally, off campus. I mean, generally, some of the banks or the hedge funds or private equity funds which offer kind of fund accounting might not necessarily only offer fund accounting role within campus. So I think you will probably have far more opportunities trying off campus, but the general answer is if you know what you want, try all means possible. So if you know companies coming into campus offering this role, go for it. Equally apply off campus through your network, through consultant agencies like Phenom or any other consultant agencies. So try both options. There is no harm.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And the second one is, what role does Phenom placements actually play in this recruitment process?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the question?
What role does Phenom placements actually play in this recruitment process or not?
So as a recruitment consultant, our role is of course a bridge between a company and a candidate. There are a few things which I wanted to tell you earlier also. I'm really not sure if you have heard the earlier conversation. So there are a couple of questions regarding Middle East rules or international rules or Indian rules. So first of all, the first thing, be it Phenom placement or any other consultant, you should never pay a consultant any single rupee, because never ever a good company charges any rupee from a candidate. So this is the first thumb rule, that you should never, being a consultant, I can tell you, never ever pay a single rupee to a consultant for your job. This is the first thing. Now, regarding our role is very simple. So what we do is that we get a requirement for company, let's say, for example, for fund accounting, for financial controlling, or for FP&A rule. We get those requirements, we filter, we reach out to CAs like you. We ask if you have a preference for these roles, location, and salary. We reach out to you, then we make sure that if you are interested, you are being interviewed with company. And once you're interviewed, if you're selected, you should be onboarded by submitting documents. So right from the scratch till the time you're onboarded, a recruitment consultant like us is a friend to you, whom you can ask questions. And of course, we are more than happy to assist you.
Okay. So if we go through if we go through these Phenom placements, do we still need to go for GDs and all?
Yes, the process remains same. The recruitment process remains same. You go through consultant, you go through directly. It will not change. Even the salaries will not change. The process will not remain changed.
I wanted to ask here that after sharing CV on your email, that career@Phenom placements, what all should we do? Should we wait for calls or should we ask you for more details?
I think I'm taking this question, but after this, for phenomenal question, we can discuss offline. Once you share your profile to us, our team goes through it, scrutinize it, and schedule an interview if you are relevant for a particular profile. So you don't need to do anything else. Your role is limited sending a profile. After that, if your profile is picked up, we'll reach out to you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Our next caller is Urvi. Urvi, can you hear us? Urvi? No. Okay, I have a question. I've just received a question online. Manish, this question is to you. So this question is asking about how to handle failure, since as a rank holder or as a first attempt CA, we pass our 12th with flying colors. We pass CPT, IPCC, and CA final in first attempts. Of course, our ambitions are pretty high, and actually we are bring to earth when we fail in a particular interview. So I'm sure you must have also failures or rejections during your career span. So if you can help a candidate, if he's a rank holder, non-rank holder, how to face failures after 7-8 years of your studying from 12th to qualifying CA.
Yeah, so a very important question, and I actually want each one on the call to probably pay some attention to this one. I mean, there is absolutely nothing that teaches you more than a failure. Not in the sense I want you to fail, I want you to succeed in your first attempt. But when I look through my journey also, when it comes to interviews, GD preparations, or even for CV, I didn't get everything right in the first time, or in fact, I didn't get most of the things right in the first time. And trust me, none of you will probably get right in the first time also. Even looking through my interview journey, I kept on learning from each interview. Yes, I felt bad when I didn't get selected in one interview, and everybody does that. That's pretty human nature. But when I get selected eventually to a couple of companies and profiles, even after being a rank holder, I realized that each failed interview had contributed to my interview, which, where I finally got successful. So failure does teach you things like, what are the aspects that I didn't cover well? Can I do more hard work on them? Is my communication skills not up to the mark? Should I work on that? It gives you some sort of reality check. There will always be some interviews which will not go through, your way. So it is very important the way you feel happy about, obviously getting selected for a role in an interview. You should not be demotivated by rejection. Yes, it doesn't feel good. It will never feel good getting rejected, but you should take this as a learning. Look back, see through what are the things you didn't do well or what are the things you could have done better, and just focus on them. Like, each one of us will have some good days and some bad days. So if you are having a bad day, you will also have a good day. So just keep preparing yourself for that good day and your opportunity will come. Equally, don't get demotivated by what people around you are getting, because that is again very human. I will compare myself to 3 of my friends. I will compare to myself, with the people in my batch, and it is very possible that some of them get an offer within their first interview, but you didn't. It doesn't mean you will not. So don't let that a moment of failure to demotivate you and impact the moment of success that you might have, in 2 days from now or a month from now. So keep learning. Yes, it doesn't feel good, but keep learning, keep working towards it. As far as you are working consistently and hard work, I promise you, you will get the opportunity you are looking for. Just have patience and just keep learning from your failures.
Wow, that's really inspiring. We are running close to the closure of the meeting. So next 10 minutes, we'll end this meeting in case you have last questions, because I've received 2 questions, one for Ankit, one for Shubham. And we won't be able to take much questions now because at 1:30 we'll finish this meeting. Shubham, I'll go first to you. There are candidates asking us that is the industrial training. I don't have a rank, but I have industrial training. Will this be an advantage in interview?
I would say definitely yes, because based on your industrial training, like you have got exposure to a corporate, and like you have like worked in a corporate, like let's say for around 9 to 12 months. So that will give you an added advantage. Plus, like definitely, let's say whichever profile you were in, so you will know in and out of that. So like you will have chances for that profile, like at least. So yeah, it will be an advantage definitely.
Oh, great, thank you. Ankit, I have a question with you. Nowadays, ICI has, because again these questions are very frequent. Nowadays, ICI has a rule that if you join a company, you give a confirmation to a company. If you don't join, there's a penal clause. So forget about this penal clause, but are there any etiquettes of rejecting an offer, because you might land up to 2 or 3 offers?
So see, there are different aspects to it. So when we say that you didn't go for probably what you have opted for I wouldn't say that there is something ethically wrong, but how you deal with that scenario, I think that is really critical. So we see some of the cases where members suddenly kind of, don't start picking up the calls. They stop picking up the calls. They are not responding because they have gotten something else. So that kind of attitude or behavior is definitely not professional, and that is taken seriously. But in a very professional and subtle way, you initiate the communication that probably there is an exciting opportunity for which you want to go for and you will not able to make it, then I don't think that will lead to like a blacklisting or kind of, a black spot in your career. So it completely depends on how you deal with that situation.
Right. So it's important to respond back, even though you're not joining.
Yes, because it's not professional that you are making someone wait for 2 months. And then when the person is expecting you on the floor, you just disappear. So that is definitely unprofessional.
Okay, Aditi, I have a second last question for you from the audience side. regarding those bonds thing. So when we go to ICA campus, is this bond or commitment kind of thing is prevalent, or what? How should we deal about this bond situation?
Okay, so regarding this bond thing, I'll not say it is very much prevalent and it is not there. But there are, so this bond is very company specific. So there are specific companies which are where if you want to join, you will have to accept the bond which they are offering for 6 months or 1 year, 1 year, or maybe like that. So just if suppose we get selected in a company and which is having this bond condition, so if you want to join, you will obviously have to accept the bond, and then you can look into that if the role that they are offering and the company which we are going in, if you can foresee a longer future in that company, like maybe one year, maybe after 1.5, 2 years, if you can foresee a longer future, then I think that there is no harm in accepting the bond. And yeah, but it's like if there's a condition that they have attached, then you will have to accept it, and then only you can join the company. So it all depends upon your role, what you're getting, what is your interest. If the role which you're getting is of your interest, so then I don't think that there's a harm in accepting the bond. Because that if after that period will over, and you will not be you will not feel like, okay, I'm not doing something which I'm not liking, but I cannot leave because of the bond thing and all. So if it's the role that you are interested in, if that's the role that company is offering, then you can surely go with the bond. Otherwise, but if you're not sure of the role and all, and the bond situation makes you feel clutched, then obviously you should look for other opportunities. That's what I have to say.
Right.
Just wanted to add to that, like generally companies will ask for this bond thing, like when they offer initial joining bonuses, and let's say if things did not work out for that period for which the bond duration is, then you can, let's say, definitely leave that company. Just that like you have to return that joining bonus which they gave you at the initiation. So yeah, so generally companies ask for the bond when they give some joining bonus.
True. We are very sorry, we're running short of time. Manish, I have a last question for you. This is regarding more, not regarding a career, but it's regarding a shift from one place to another. So we can see in your career path from North India, you move to southern part, the southernmost part of India. From southernmost part, you move to out of India. So is it like location should be a constraint to a particular person, or this should be our first priority, or is it like sometimes location add advantage or benefit to your career?
Yeah, so see, the short answer is location, being locationally flexible definitely does add an advantage to your career. I mean, whether you want to move location or not is somewhat also comes down to your personal decision, and what you want to do with your personal and social life. But if you are okay to move location, it does add, it does give a great advantage. If I link it back to my career also, like I obviously started working in Hyderabad, then moved over to Delhi, then moved over to Chennai, then obviously worked from Singapore, New York, and eventually in London. So I have personally been very flexible. As a personal also, I have always liked the opportunity to explore new country, new culture, new work experience. My advice would be to all you fresher chartered accountants, do explore that. Do keep yourself open to move out of your home city or home state and explore different cities in different part of India or even outside India. It is very, very beneficial to your long-term career. I know, Ankit will also agree to me. He has moved countries and cities also a lot. So it is a great experience to have. Yes, unless there is a very pressing personal reason, I would say look out for opportunity to change cities and change countries. And it does teach you, a lot of new skills and behavioral aspects over the years.
Right. True. Thank you so much. I'm really sorry we are running short of time. I want to thank our panel. Just one quick question to all of you. In case after this session, someone wants to reach out to Aditi, Shubham, Ankit, and Manish, how they can reach you guys?
Yeah, so I have just shared my Insta ID on the group chat. People can probably take it from there. I'm not sure, if other panelists will also like to share that. But equally, Ashish, I'm okay for you to pass on our details, at least for me to, the members even after the call.
Okay, Aditi, what about you?
Yeah, so Ashish, I guess I'll share my LinkedIn ID to you so that they can use that link to reach out to me, and I'll be free to answer all their questions.
Shubham?
Yeah, I'll also share my LinkedIn ID in just a minute.
Sure. And what about you, Ankit?
I'm okay. You can share my Insta and LinkedIn ID and I can connect with people.
Okay. Wonderful then. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much, the attendees, for taking out time on Sunday. It's been really amazing and inspiring to hear the answers and opinions. I'm sure everybody would have been benefited. We will publish this video on YouTube also. So for those who missed this video, can see it later on. Once again, I want to thank my panel, Ankit, Aditi, Shubham, and Manish for taking out time on Sunday. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Have a
Thank you,
great day.
everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
It was great interacting with all of you.
Bye.